And that is a Taiwanese Bawan.
You say that one more time.
And that is a Taiwanese Bawan. That is a Taiwanese Bawan. That's a Taiwanese Bawan.
Season 2 Bawan.
You've been really good at that.
I know. It's like this move. 大家好，小宝贝。I'm Lisa Chang Smith. Welcome to Cooking with Steam. Today we're making bawan, or Taiwanese crystal meatball. So Yunhai used to be called Bawan Buddies and represented my desire to research traditional Taiwanese foods. At the time, I just couldn't find anything about it in the English language on the internet. So today I'm actually going to show you how to make that version that I kind of pieced together from my lived experience and bits and pieces of internet research and translated cookbooks in my home kitchen in Brooklyn. So I think that making bawan is kind of like the closest thing to making mud pies that I've ever done in the kitchen. Rather than making like a contained and predictable dough, you're really making like a thick paste out of starch. And then you're going to use that to make sort of a patty in a bowl, put the filling in, and then cover it up and steam it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make that paste. We talked about古早味, and notably this dumpling recipe has no wheat in it at all. So it's made of sweet potato starch. It's actually a little bit coarse. And long grain rice flour, which is much more fluffy and powdery. I'm using 3 parts of sweet potato starch to 1 part long grain rice flour. First, make a slurry of these. Add water in. Long grain rice is one of the most traditional rices in Taiwan. So you'll see that long grain rice is used in a lot of these older recipes. So you just want it to almost have the consistency of cream. And we're going to cook this up to evaporate the water and make this into the paste. So I'm kind of making a double boiler here because I don't want to burn the paste at all. Because it will not be as good, but it will also kind of discolor it. And we really want it to be very pure. I'll turn the heat up a bit. I'm just turning it up for us so we can get there a little faster. This is going to seem slow, and then it's going to happen really fast. I think this went a little bit too far, actually. So I'm actually going to do this again. So just keep the water on a simmer. Don't bring it to a rolling boil or it'll cook too fast. And I'm going to actually get a whisk instead of the wooden spoon, which is going to help me keep everything kind of even. Do not walk away. Do not lose patience. And everything should be fine. Okay, I can feel the bottom of the starch giving that resistance. It's starting to kind of stick to the edges of the bowl. Good arm workout. So it's just about there. You can kind of get that cream cheesy feel. I'm turning it off, and I'm going to take it off the heat right now. So this is a lot different than this. Not just the texture, but the evenness of the cook in this is not there. Here, everything's cooked evenly. So I'm going to let this cool, and then we're going to make the filling. The filling is very typically made with pork. If I had time, I would love to mince my own pork. So pork shoulder or pork butt. I feel like you cannot leave out the bamboo. So it will come kind of vacuum sealed and pre-washed in a bag in the refrigerated section in an Asian grocery store. And then shiitake mushroom. And it's seasoned with soy sauce, white pepper. You can add dried shrimp in, a little bit of sugar. And then something you cannot leave out are fried shallots. So these are crispy fried shallots that we're going to throw in at the end, which is going to give everything that sweet Taiwanese shallot flavor, but also give a little bit of texture. And one thing that I always encounter is people debating the relative merits of the regional bawan in Taiwan. So when I'm visiting the 2 people we work most closely with, my friend Ivan and Feng Feng, Feng Feng will say, oh, let's go get Zhanghua bawan. And then Ivan will say, no, let's get the Taitung bawan. And they'll end up getting both. And they'll say, well, which one do you like better? And I'm like, I like them both equally because I can't be that tiebreaker. What I'm making here is actually not a regional bawan. It's what I'm able to make with my constraints at home. And it's also based on memory and experience. So the first bawan I ever had was actually in Taipei, and with my uncle, who is convinced that he's like very diabetic. And so he won't eat any any of the foods that he loves. And the way that he deals with that is when I come to Taiwan, he makes me eat everything that he wants to eat and watches me eat it. So he took me to a Bawan stall, and I remember he kept making me guess what was in the sauce. And I kept guessing. And finally, I guessed ketchup. And yeah, the secret to that Bawan sauce at that stall was to add a little bit of ketchup. So that's what we're going to do today. So here's the mushroom. So that's kind of chopped up finely to match the pork. And that is all the prep that we need to do. We're going to head over to the stove and stir fry the filling. I always start with the pork because that's going to release a lot of water. So we just want to cook it till it's almost a little bit crispy. So first we'll start by adding my favorite peanut oil into the wok. The hottest part of the wok is always going to be in the bottom. And because it has the high edges, you know, once areas are more cooked, you can kind of scoot them up to the edges to cook more slowly. If you don't have a wok or your stove is kind of weak, you can just batch things. That's what I often do. So just cook it in 2 batches just so that you don't end up over steaming the food. You can see if I move it around, the water is actually starting to come out of the pork. And this is why I didn't want to cook other things first. I didn't want to like steam other ingredients in this water. If you really go down the rabbit hole of wok shopping, you're going to find a million recommendations and reviews. I think a cheap carbon steel wok from like a Chinese grocery store is as good as any. They should be thin, and you are going to have to season them. With the carbon steel thinner wok, I can put my oil in. A couple minutes later, it's hot. So this also cools off relatively quickly. So turn the heat off, take this off the fire, and it's not going to retain a ton of heat like something that's cast iron or has like a stainless steel bottom. But this is looking fully cooked to me, and it's looking like it's the right texture. So now I'm going to do the mushrooms and the shrimp. Stir to incorporate. This is going to cook pretty quickly, so I'm going to actually go ahead and put the bamboo in now. It's almost like 1-to-1 bamboo and pork. So we're going to add soy sauce, a couple tablespoons. This will give it a nice color. I'm going to put a pinch of sugar in and a pinch of salt. So you can actually kind of see that the water's been absorbed, and what we're seeing now is actually more like the lard or the oil from the pork. So this is a good time to turn off the heat. And I'm going to throw the shallots in and mix it up off of the heat and create kind of a dry, loose filling. Okay, so the texture is great. It's definitely not salty enough, so I'm going to add a big pinch of salt. And then I actually forgot to add white pepper, which is one of my favorite flavors. And I'm just going to give a generous sprinkle of white pepper. And then I'll stir it up again and then give it a taste. Okay, that's good. So to prepare these sauce bowls, you do want to give it a good coating of oil. The paste is a great texture to work with. I actually added a little bit of warm water after it had cooled down just to give it a little bit of pliability. If I touch it, it's kind of got this stickiness to it, which is annoying. To avoid that, I always have a bowl of water nearby. So as long as you keep your hands wet, your hands are going to be clean. What we'll first do is we'll take a little bit of the paste and just use the spoon to put it in here like this. So you can see if I keep my hands wet, I'm not really getting that much on my hands, and just kind of like really not be afraid to get in here with shaping this. And what I want to do is spread it all around the bottom of the saucepan, or saucepan, the sauce dish. So what you want is something like this, kind of covered with a little bit on the edge for release, and then just a divot in the middle. I'm going to take some of the filling. I'll just kind of loosely dump it in the middle. So it'll be kind of a mound like this. Some Bawan recipes will have more of a meat ball where it's really sticking together, more like a paste. Mine is loose. I'm okay with that. I don't mind when some of these like crispy bits get caught up in the filling. So what I'll do is I'll get my hand wet, just grab a chunk of the paste, and just put it on top like that and start to kind of press down the edges to cover it and spread it out. And it's very easy to repair. So you can see I'm having trouble here with getting that. It's fine, just grab a little bit more, put it on top. We were kind of talking like, oh, what should a Bawan look like out of the sauce? And I'm like, no one's ever seen the bawan naked before because it's always in sauce. So don't worry too much about how this is looking. I think this is absolutely fine. What you want to make sure is that it's just completely covered and that you're happy with the size. So I'll make up a couple more and then we'll go ahead and start steaming it in the datung. If you want to steam more at a time, you could steam them on like a steamer plate inside the datung. You could double up on the bamboo steamer layers. If you just have a pot at home, same thing, just put some kind of insert down and you can steam it, in a stock pot or in a wok or something like that. So I'm going to steam them for 15 minutes. So I'll fill this cup up all the way and then we'll come check on them. So we're going to make the bawan sauce, which is based on a sauce that I've had in Taiwan, hai shan jiang. I'm approximating it with a few different ingredients. Instead of tomato, we're going to use a little bit of ketchup, which is going to give it a tanginess. We are also using this tian la jiang, or sweet chili sauce. It smells very peppery and almost Tabasco-like, but it has a little bit of the tartness of the tomato. And then we're going to use soy paste. Soy paste is like a thicker soy sauce. Because the original recipe calls for soy sauce and sugar, I'm just approximating it here with soy paste, which is already a sweetened soy sauce-based glaze. Miso is a traditional ingredient in this as well. I would recommend the soy paste from us, but if you don't have it or can't get it, feel free to stir in a little bit of miso paste as well. I'm going to turn this to low heat because we don't want the sauce to burn. So 4 tablespoons of the soy paste. I'm going to use the same container because I'm going to do just half the amount of ketchup. There's ketchup. And then I'm going to do chili sauce. So I like things a little bit more tart, like the same amount as the ketchup. This is, contrary to its name, not very spicy. Many Taiwanese hot sauces are not that spicy. If you want a spicier sauce, I have a couple of garnishes or pepper sauces that I can show you after we make this. I'm going to kind of cook it so it incorporates, and then I'm going to thin it a bit with water. Yeah, and it's starting to smell right, where it has that umami chocolatiness from the soy sauce, but that very tart ketchup-y or tomato flavor. I'm going to heat it a little bit more, again, just to kind of caramelize the sugars. Okay, so starting to bubble a little bit. I'm just going to add not all of the water. Just gonna go slowly. And I'm gonna remove from heat now so I don't burn it. And I think this is looking about right. So the texture is gonna be something like this, where it'll coat the spoon, but it's not actually like gloopy. When we garnish, I will add a couple other things. So this is Nyonya sauce. It's made by Malaysian Taiwanese garlic farmers. It has the sweet chili aspect, but it's also very garlicky. And I like to use it on bawan at home because sometimes bawan is served with like fresh chopped garlic. And I love that flavor profile with the bamboo and the pork. This is the Dongquan hot sauce that is very commonly seen on tables in street stalls and night markets in Taitung, and is also commonly added as a garnish to the bawan. Okay, so we've got all of our sauce ingredients and garnish here, and then the bawan is ready. There we go. So you can see how much it's transformed. The white paste has become translucent, and you can actually see the filling through. So these are going to be kind of hot, but they're a little bit hard to get out. You could just wet your hand with cold water and kind of try not to burn yourself. I'm going to use a bowl clip, which is designed for this purpose. So if you've oiled this well enough, this should be easy to release. And then because these are still hot, I just have to peel it up a little bit. So this is it. And this is actually the top of the dumpling here. So what I'm going to do is just put this into our serving bowl. So this is the naked bawan. First, we're going to cut the top open. Go in with the scissors like this. And just cut across here like that. So that creates like a opening so you can see the filling inside, but also so the sauce can kind of get inside the dumpling. And I'm going to be generous with it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this hot sauce. This is the garlicky one that I told you about. And then we have this one. It's all going to become a crazy mess in the end. And then I like mine with just a little bit of cilantro right here in the middle. And that is Taiwanese Bawan. This is one of the few Taiwanese foods that you actually eat with a fork. So there really is no way to eat this elegantly. It's messy, slurpy, got sloppy Joe vibes. The filling is so flavorful, and you can get the crunch of the bamboo. The sauces are really tart and spicy and garlicky. Skin is just perfectly bouncy and has like a great chew to it. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. See you next time, and hope you can make this Taiwanese street snack at home. Super good.
All right. Okay. Let's cut. We cut.